Hi, my name is Silvano and today I'm going to show you how to sketch a kitten heel slingback profile view. Trace a line, a second line perpendicular. Now we're going to determine the length of our sketch, of our slingback, and we'll find the half point between the two. Determine the heel height, and then we trace a straight line from the heel height to the middle point, and a second line from that point to the length of the pump, raising about 4 millimeter, which is going to be your toe spring, and then a 90-degree line, and we mark the height of our shoe, the back height, and then from the back height a straight line to the toe. Another 90-degree angle straight line, and then we find a middle point there. From the back height, a straight line to that point. And now a new layer, and I will start rounding the line. So this is our shank and the toe. So this is the bottom of the last, basically, the bottom of the shoe. And then I'll sketch the profile view of the toe. Okay. Here you're just sketching, so the line don't have to be perfect. You're making the basic line around the back heel. And now the heel. Kitten heel, so lower. And here you can go crazy, the shape. You sketch the shape that you like. Here we're doing a kitten heel, classic stiletto low heel. The front of the heel is going to be a breasted heel, so from the sole is going to go around the heel, like that, and the bottom of the heel. Although it's profile, we're going to see a little bit of the inside of the heel, where the sole is going to go around, and then the top lift. And now a new layer, and we mark the height of our pump, the throat line, and we go from there. Again, here is a classic throat line. It could be as you like, it could be square, it could be, but for now, being the second tutorial, we design a classic round throat line all the way up to the back height, and then the inside of the throat line. So it's a little higher, so it is visible, and then from there again to the back of the shoe. And now the sling back. Here again a classic skinny strap all the way down, like so. And then because it's open in the back, what is visible here is the insole. And also for the insole, we see a little bit of the inside of the insole, so outside and inside. The same thing for the throat line, same thing for the inside of the heel. And now the sole. Like that. And here, slingback don't have to have a buckle, but in this case, we'll do it with the buckle. So it's more adjustable, and you see how to sketch a buckle. Here's the center hole, and then we'll have 2 holes on each side. So 2 holes to tighten the strap and 2 holes to loosen the strap. And here is the end of your strap. Now you're making a classic slingback, but let's add something. Let's add a little bow as a toe cap. There's a little strip of leather and a bow, a little tie, just to make it a little different. Still classic, still very easy, but with something. Every tutorial, every sketch will add something, and it will become more and more difficult. And now we can lower the opacity of every layer that we sketch. So this phase is like if you sketch the shoe in pencil, and we're gonna go to ink this sketch. So we're gonna lower the opacity of every layers, pick the pen, the inking technical pen, and start inking our sketch. And now is when we adjust the line. We have to try to stay, a steady line as much as we can. And if there is something that you don't like, that you want to correct, this is when you do that. Lower a little bit the line, changing it a little bit. When you ink, you can do all that. But try to have a steady hand and a steady line. And more you exercise, more you sketch, and better you'll become at this, and easier it will be. Here at the back of the heel. Inside. And the bow. There you go. And now we can eliminate all the pencil line, leaving only the inking showing. I'm going to fill the inside of the heel and the lining in black. You can pick any color you want. It could be a darker gray. And then I always like, I show you in the previous tutorial, the high heel pump. I like to soften everything by using the soft airbrush and follow retrace every single line with the airbrush so that it becomes a softer, more realistic sketch. I like it better this way. And you might ask, why do you ink it and then airbrush it? Because if I do it right away with the airbrush line, it's not as pretty. I like it with both line. And with pen and paper, I started by doing it with the pencil, with the marker, and then with the lead, the same lead that I used to use to shade. And in this case, using iPad and Procreate, I use this airbrush that I think makes it look nice. And here, a little thicker line for the sole. There you go. And here it could be a complete sketch. As I said in the last tutorial, I like to shade it. But before I shade it, I also want to show you how I design the stitching. So all the edges are folded and stitched. So he's using a ink pen again. I'll stitch it this way. This is how you would do it with pen and pencil. With Procreate, you can develop a brush, but I think like this is more, takes a little bit more time, but it's more realistic looking, and I like that. So you stitch all your upper all around. And then at this point, we'll start shading again with the soft airbrush. You adjust the thickness of the line of your airbrush and the opacity. And you go around and see how the last becomes rounder, more realistic looking. It gives you a much better idea. It becomes less flat on the paper and a little bit rounder, a little bit more realistic. It gives a better idea of what you're gonna have at the end result, the real shoe. And when you give this sketch to the next person that is gonna work on a collection, in this case would be the modelista, the guy that is gonna make the pattern of this, he's gonna understand better what line, what you want. Same thing with the last maker. And same thing when you are in a meeting showing your sketches. Is much easier for everybody to see the real shoe. So it's easier to read. And that's why I like to shade the sketches. A little bit the bow, so it's also, and the insole and the heel. And a little bit of the white, using white instead of black, and I shade even the inside, the lining, so that even the light hits also the inside of the shoe. And there you have it. Slingback, kitten heel slingback with the bow on the toe. I hope you like it, and I'll see you the next time. Ciao.